Hello everyone, viewers. We all think we know the story. An old man, a beloved son, and a lonely mountain, a command from God that echoes through eternity, testing the very limits of faith. We see Abraham, his hand trembling but resolute. We see Isaac, innocent and bound upon an altar of stone, and we hear a voice from the heavens, stopping the blade at the last possible second. What if the voice that cried out wasn't just a divine messenger, but a celestial guardian acting at the peak of a cosmic crisis? What if the drama on Mount Moriah wasn't just a test for one man, but a confrontation between the concepts of absolute obedience and absolute mercy? Today, we delve into the shadows of Scripture, into the whispers of ancient law, to uncover. His name is Zadkiel, the righteousness of God, the Archangel of Mercy, and his story is the one you've never been told. This is the untold story of how he stopped Abraham. The universe is a tapestry woven with threads of light and law, of power and principle. In the celestial hierarchy, there are angels who are warriors, like Michael, whose sword carves out justice. There are messengers, like Gabriel, and then there are the keepers of concepts, the embodiments of divine attributes. Zadkiel is one such being. His name, Zadkiel, means righteousness of God. He is not merely an enforcer of rules. He is the living, breathing essence of mercy, forgiveness, and benevolent memory. His domain is the violet flame of transmutation, the power to take pain. He is the patron of all who seek to forgive, both others and themselves. He is the silent comforter in moments of unbearable grief, the guiding hand that helps souls release their burdens. So when the divine command went forth to Abraham, it was not just a test for a mortal patriarch. It was a shockwave that reverberated through all of creation. In the ethereal courts of heaven, a silence fell. The seraphim veiled. The command was an enigma, a divine paradox. How could the source of all life demand the end of a promised lineage? How could the ultimate good command an act that felt, to the hearts of both men and angels, like the ultimate evil? For most of the heavenly host, the command was absolute. It was a mystery of the divine will, not to be questioned, only to be observed. But for Zadkiel, he, the embodiment of mercy, was now a witness to a divine order that seemed to hold no mercy at all. A conflict was born not of rebellion but of principle. Could righteousness truly be served by the sacrifice of an innocent? Could faith be proven only through the suspension of compassion? Zadkiel stood in the flow of cosmic memory, watching the timelines converge on that one terrible point on a barren. He felt the weight of Abraham's future grief, the echo of Isaac's stolen laughter. This was not just a test of a man's faith in God, it was a test of God's faith in his own creation, and in the very principles he had set in motion. And Zadkiel knew, with a certainty that chilled his fiery essence, that he could not simply be a spectator. His nature, his very name demanded that he be present, not to defy the Almighty, but to ensure that in this ultimate test of faith, the ultimate virtue of mercy would not be forgotten. The journey began 3 days. For Abraham, it was a silent, agonizing march towards an unthinkable act. The world around him seemed to lose its color, its sound muted by the roaring in his own soul. He walked beside the son whose birth was a miracle, the son who was the vessel of a divine promise, and with every step, the weight of the sacrificial knife on his belt grew heavier. He saw the trust in Isaac's eyes, and each glance was a fresh torment. Isaac, full of the life and curiosity of youth, saw only a journey with his father. He asked questions, his voice a melody against the grim percussion of and Abraham's reply, a prophecy and a prayer torn from the depths of his breaking heart. God himself will provide the lamb, my son. But this journey was not just earthly, it was watched, from a plane of existence shimmering just beyond mortal sight. Zadkiel walked with them. He did not appear as a being of light and wings. He was a silent presence, a ripple in the air, a shadow of violet. He understood the patriarch's terrible resolve. This was a faith that transcended reason, a faith so absolute it was willing to surrender the most precious thing it had ever been given. It was awesome, and it was terrifying. Zadkiel saw the inner battle. Abraham was not a cold, unfeeling automaton. He was a father. Every memory of Isaac, from his first steps to his laughter echoing in the tent. This was the true test, not just to obey, but to obey while his heart was shattering into a million pieces. The Archangel of Memory could feel the weight of every one of those memories. Zadkiel's purpose was not yet clear even to himself. He was an observer, a guardian, a witness. He was there to record this moment in the cosmic archives. Yes, but he was also there because his very nature was drawn to this nexus. He watched as they climbed the slopes of Moriah, the place of seeing. The air grew thin and the silence between father and son became a chasm. The world seemed to hold its breath. In the celestial realm, the debate was silent but fierce. Michael, the great warrior archangel, saw it as a matter of order and obedience. The command was given. The subject must comply. It was a test of loyalty. Gabriel, the messenger, saw it as a revelation in the making. The outcome was foreordained, a part of a much larger narrative that would define the relationship between the Creator and humanity for millennia. His role was to bear witness, and if called upon to announce the result. But Zadkiel saw something different. He saw the potential for a wound to be inflicted upon the human spirit, a trauma so deep. He saw the danger of a lesson being misinterpreted, of God being perceived as a cruel taskmaster rather than a loving source. His domain was healing and memory. How could a memory this terrible be healed? How could forgiveness be found for an act that was never meant to be completed, but came so terrifyingly close? He sought out Jophiel, the angel of wisdom, whose light illuminates the patterns of creation. Sister, Zadkiel's thoughts echoed, a cord of deep violet and troubled gold. What is the wisdom in this? To demand a father extinguish the light of his own line, to test love by commanding its destruction. Jophiel's presence was like a calm, sunlit garden. Brother, her thoughts returned, you see the act. I see the heart. The test is not of the hand, but of the will. But the gift is a child, not a stone, Zadkiel countered. The giver is the source of all compassion. How can he demand an act that has none? My very being cries out against it. Mercy is not a variable to be tested. It is a constant, a foundation. Perhaps, Jophiel mused, her wisdom a gentle challenge. Mercy is not what prevents the trial, but what is found at its heart. Go be what you are. Her words settled in his spirit. He was not meant to stop the test. He was meant to be a part of its conclusion. He turned his full attention back to the lonely peak of Moriah. The time was near. The altar was built, stone upon rough stone, each one a testament to Abraham's dreadful obedience. The old man worked with a slow, deliberate purpose, his movements heavy with a sorrow that seemed to age him with every passing second. He did not cry out. In a moment of faith that mirrored his father's, he allowed himself to be bound, his wrists and ankles tied with the coarse rope. He was laid upon the wood, a lamb for the slaughter. Abraham looked up at the empty sky, his face a mask of agony. A single tear traced a path through the dust on his cheek. This was it, the culmination of his life, his faith, his love. He had given up his home. He reached for the knife. The cold metal felt alien in his hand, a tool of butchery, not of worship. His knuckles were white, his arm was heavy, as if all the gravity of the universe was pulling it down. But he began to raise it. The blade caught the harsh sunlight, a sliver of cruel, unbearable light. In that instant, time itself seemed to stretch and thin for Abraham. It was an eternity of silence. Jophiel's words echoed within him. Fay be what you are, Fay. And he was mercy as Abraham's arm reached its zenith. A wave of pure, unadulterated energy surged from Zadkiel. It was not a sound, not a light, but a presence. It was the color purple, the scent of burning herbs, the feeling of a cool hand on a fevered brow, all at once. The energy wrapped around Abraham's arm, not with force. The patriarch's muscles, strained with resolve, suddenly went slack. His grip on the knife loosened, and then came the voice. It was not a shout from the heavens. It was a voice that bloomed directly inside Abraham's mind, a voice that was both Zadkiel's and the echo of the Almighty. "Abraham, Abraham!" the patriarch gasped, his eyes snapping open as if waking from a nightmare. "Do not lay your hand on the boy," the voice continued, its tone now shifting from urgent command to profound relief and affirmation. "Do not do anything to him, for now I know that you fear God, seeing you have not withheld your son. your only son from me." Abraham's arm fell to his side. The knife clattered onto the rocks. The sound was deafening in the sudden silence. He stared unblinking at the son who was still alive. He scrambled to untie the ropes, his hands fumbling, his body shaking with a storm of emotions too vast to name. He pulled Isaac into his arms, burying his face in the boy's hair, and a sound tore from his throat, a sob of grief, of relief, of terror, and of overwhelming love. It was then that Abraham heard a rustling in a nearby thicket. He looked up, his tear-filled eyes. A ram, its horns tangled in the dense branches, a perfect, unblemished sacrifice. It had not just appeared. Zadkiel, in the moments leading up to the climax, had gently guided the creature there, weaving a path for it through the rocky terrain, ensuring it would be present at the precise moment it was needed. It was not a replacement. It was a provision. It was the manifestation of the mercy. Zadkiel watched as father and son completed the offering, their movements now filled with a sense of awe and reverence. The smoke from the new sacrifice rose straight to the heavens, a sweet-smelling aroma of faith affirmed and mercy triumphant. The Archangel's work, however, was not yet done. The physical trial was over, but the spiritual and emotional wound remained. He drew closer. He was the Angel of Memory, and his task now was to help reframe this one. To Abraham, he sent a wave of understanding. The patriarch suddenly saw the event not as a moment of near filicide, but as the ultimate revelation. He had been willing to give up everything, and in doing so he had received everything back, his faith now forged into an unbreakable bond with the divine. The terror in his memory was he would forever be the man who walked to the very edge of the abyss and found God waiting for him there. For Isaac, Zadkiel's touch was different. The boy was young, and the confusion and fear could easily have hardened into resentment or a lifelong terror of the divine. Zadkiel's influence was a gentle balm. He didn't erase the memory of the ropes or the cold stone of the altar. Instead, he helped Isaac understand, on a soul-deep level, that he was not a victim but a participant in a sacred mystery. He was the beloved son, the one for whom mercy had provided a substitute. This experience would not break him, it would consecrate him, it would become the foundation of his own faith, a personal, unshakable knowledge that even when the knife is raised, salvation is waiting in the thicket. If you are finding this untold, your support is what allows us to bring these ancient whispers to light. Now, back to the sacred mountain. As Abraham and Isaac prepared to descend, Abraham named the place Yahweh-Yireh, which means the Lord will provide. But in that name, Zadkiel heard a deeper truth. The Lord's provision is his mercy. The two are one and the same. Zadkiel's intervention was not an act of rebellion. It was an act. He affirmed that the righteousness of God is not a cold, unyielding law, but a dynamic, compassionate force. He proved that the greatest strength is not the power to demand sacrifice, but the grace to provide a way out. He was the celestial lawyer who argued for the spirit of the law over the letter of the law. He ensured that the story of Abraham and Isaac would not be remembered as a testament to a terrifying God. It is a story that says, even when you are asked to walk into your deepest darkness, you do not walk alone. Mercy walks with you. This event redefined Zadkiel's role in the cosmic order. He became inextricably linked with the act of sacrifice. Not as an agent of it, but as its transmuter. He is the one who helps us understand the purpose of our own trials. When we face our own Mount Moriahs, those moments where we feel we must give up something precious, a dream, a relationship, a part of ourselves. Zadkiel is the presence that reminds us that no sacrifice made in faith is ever in vain. He is the force that provides the ram in the thicket, the unexpected solution, the sudden grace that appears when we believe all is lost. His story teaches us a profound lesson about freedom. His faith was not coerced. It was a conscious, agonizing choice. And in that moment of choice, Zadkiel was also there, representing another aspect of the divine will, the freedom to be merciful. The story illustrates that divine will is not a monolithic, singular command, but a complex interplay of principles, justice and mercy, faith and compassion, testing and redemption. He did not contradict God's will. He fulfilled its deepest, most compassionate impulse. So what does this mean for us? The story of Zadkiel and Abraham is not just an ancient myth. It is a living metaphor for our own spiritual journeys. We all have memories that bind us, guilts that weigh on us like an altar of stone. We all face trials that test the very foundation of our beliefs. He invites us to bring our most painful memories, our deepest regrets into his light. He teaches us that forgiveness is the key to freedom. Just as he helped Abraham transmute a memory of terror into a testament of faith, he can help us reframe our own pasts. He doesn't erase our history, but he helps us extract the wisdom from our wounds, to see the provision in our pain. When you feel trapped by the past, visualize a gentle violet flame surrounding the painful memory or the person you need to forgive. Ask Zadkiel to help you release the negative emotions, the anger, the grief, the guilt, and to transform them into understanding, compassion, and peace. This is not about forgetting what happened. It is about changing your relationship to it. It is about laying the burden down on the altar and allowing the grace of mercy to provide a new perspective. It is a promise that you are never tested beyond your capacity. It is a promise that at the heart of every trial, there is a seed of redemption. It is a promise that mercy is not a reward for good behavior, but a fundamental force of the universe, always present, always waiting to be seen. Zadkiel's legacy is the quiet assurance that even when we are at our breaking point, when our own hand is raised against our own happiness, a power greater than our... Do not sacrifice your future to the ghosts of the past. Look, there is a ram in the thicket. There is another way. There is mercy. The Archangel of the violet flame is a guardian of our highest potential. He helps us remember who we truly are, not the sum of our mistakes, but beings of light capable of profound faith and infinite compassion. He is the righteousness of God, a righteousness that the figure on the mountain was not just a messenger. He was a statement, a promise made tangible. He was the embodiment of a divine truth, that the greatest act of faith is to trust in mercy, and the greatest act of God is to provide it. Zadkiel did not just stop Abraham. He revealed the true heart of God. All right, that is all for today's video. We hope this exploration of Zadkiel's untold story has given... If you liked this video, please subscribe and give it a like to support us. It truly helps the channel grow and allows us to create more content like this for you. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.